Imagine firing up the grill for your first real pool party in the new house. Kids cannonballing into the water, neighbors actually smiling for once. And then boom, the neighborhood dictator marches straight through your gate like she owns the damn place. Phone already dialing 911. This gathering violates every HOA covenant on noise, aesthetics, and unauthorized aquatic activity, she screeched, voice dripping with that fake polite venom that makes your blood boil. What she didn't realize was I'd spent the last 24 months turning her precious rulebook into the exact weapon that would end her reign. My name's Marcus Thompson, and when I signed the papers on 1422, Whispering Pines Lane 2 years ago, I thought I'd finally escaped the chaos. Fresh divorce papers still warm in the glove box, 2 kids who needed stability, and a backyard that sloped gently down to a little pond where the sunsets looked painted. Sunnyvale Estates marketed itself as where neighbors become family. What they forgot to mention was the fine print. One family had already crowned itself royalty, and her name was Vanessa Sinclair. HOA president, self-appointed guardian of beige perfection, and walking proof that absolute power corrupts absolutely, especially when the power only extends to grass height and mailbox flags. The day I moved in, she appeared on my porch wearing a pastel cardigan that probably cost more than my first car, clipboard in hand like it was the Constitution. "Welcome to Sunnyvale, Marcus," she purred, smile never reaching her eyes. "I'm Vanessa, your community steward. Just a quick courtesy visit to make sure you understand our standards." She said, standards, the way other people say tax audit. I laughed it off. Big mistake. Within a week, the first yellow violation notice fluttered on my door like a death threat wrapped in sunshine. Grass height exceeds 3.25 inches, $75 fine. My lawn was freshly mowed. The next one came for hedges not uniformly trimmed to approved curvature. Then pool cover left askew for 47 minutes. Each fine arrived with a little handwritten note in perfect cursive. "We're all in this together." 2 hearts, V. The emoji made it worse. I tried being the bigger person. I mowed at 7:01 a.m. every Saturday like a good suburban soldier. I bought the exact shade of whispering beige paint for my shutters. I even attended her monthly HOA meetings where she'd stand at the podium lecturing 30 grown adults on the spiritual importance of synchronized lawn watering. But the fines kept coming, each one more creative than the last. One glorious Tuesday, I received a $150 penalty for excessive visible joy after my daughter hung a rainbow pinwheel in the front yard. The official reason? Non-approved color palette disrupts neighborhood harmony. That's when the dark comedy really kicked in. Vanessa didn't just enforce rules. She invented them on the spot and weaponized them like a bored dictator with too much time and a laminator. Old Mr. Henderson down the street got fined $200 because his American flag was flying at full staff on a random Thursday instead of half staff like the HOA suggested after some celebrity died. Mrs. Patel's garden gnomes were declared visual pollution and removed by Vanessa's personal enforcement squad, her 2 bored daughters in matching polo shirts. The entire subdivision had become North Korea with better landscaping. I started documenting everything. Not angrily. That would have been too obvious. Quietly. Methodically. Every fine, every time-stamped photo of her little golf cart patrols at dusk, every email where she threatened to escalate to the board if I didn't comply within 48 hours. I learned more about Texas property law than I ever wanted to know. Turns out there are actual statutes against HOA harassment, misuse of funds, and selective enforcement. Vanessa had violated all 3 before my first mortgage payment cleared. The neighbors noticed my silence. At first they waved. Then they stopped. Carol from 1418 suddenly developed a sudden fascination with her azaleas whenever I walked by. The guy who used to borrow my leaf blower started parking in his garage when he saw my truck. Vanessa's poison had spread, whispers that I was difficult, that I didn't understand community values. One night I caught her at the community mailbox telling a small crowd. Some people just refuse to assimilate. It's sad, really. The group nodded like good little drones. That isolation hurt more than the fines. I'd moved here for my kids, for Saturday barbecues and street hockey, not to become the subdivision pariah. But every time rage bubbled up, I reminded myself, patience is a weapon. I kept smiling, kept paying the stupid fines, and filing them away. Kept my kids laughing in the backyard where Vanessa couldn't see. Then came the summer the dam finally cracked. My son turned 12, and after 2 years of walking on eggshells, I decided enough was enough. One simple pool party, burgers, music at a perfectly legal 65 decibels, maybe 10 families total. Nothing extravagant, just normal human joy. I sent polite emails to the entire block inviting them. Most didn't reply. A few sent regrets that smelled like fear. The afternoon of the party, the sun was perfect, the water sparkling, my daughter's laughter cutting through the air like freedom itself. I was flipping burgers when the gate slammed open. Vanessa Sinclair stood there in full HOA regalia, white capris, navy blazer with little gold anchors, and a smile sharp enough to slice steak. Behind her, 2 of her enforcer daughters held clipboards like they were about to audit the fun out of existence. "Marcus," she sighed theatrically, "I truly hoped it wouldn't come to this. But your little gathering violates Section 4.7, 12.3, and the entirely new Temporary Aquatic Assembly Protocol we passed last month." I wiped my hands on my apron and kept my voice calm. "Vanessa, it's my backyard. My property. My kids. There are 0 decibel violations, and every guest lives within the subdivision." She waved a manicured hand. "The covenant is clear. Any assembly of more than 6 non-immediate family members requires 72-hour written board approval. You didn't file Form HOA 19B. Therefore, this entire event is illegal." Her eyes glittered with that special brand of suburban cruelty, the kind that wears perfume and pretends it's for the greater good. "I've already called the sheriff's department. They'll be here momentarily to disperse this disturbance." The kids in the pool froze mid-splash. Parents glanced at their phones like they were calculating escape routes. One of Vanessa's daughters actually started filming on her phone like we were criminals. The absurdity hit me so hard I almost laughed out loud. Here was a woman who spent her days measuring grass with a ruler, now treating a birthday pool party like a riot. The sheriff's cruiser rolled up exactly 4 minutes later, because of course Vanessa had him on speed dial. Deputy Ramirez stepped out, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Vanessa launched into her Oscar-worthy performance. "Officer, this homeowner has repeatedly ignored every reasonable request. He's hosting an unsanctioned event that lowers property values and sets a dangerous precedent." I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I simply reached behind the grill and pulled out the thick black binder I'd been waiting 2 years to open. "Deputy, before you write anything, you might want to see this." Page 1 was a neatly typed timeline of every single fine Vanessa had issued me, dates, amounts, photos of the violations. Page 2, emails where she admitted to changing rules retroactively. Page 3, bank statements showing HOA funds mysteriously spent on her personal, community beautification trips to the spa. Page 4, sworn affidavits from 6 other neighbors who'd finally found the courage to speak once I promised to protect them. Deputy Ramirez's eyebrows climbed higher with every page. Vanessa's perfect smile started to crack at the edges. "This is ridiculous," she sputtered. "He's clearly doctored." "Ma'am," the deputy cut her off, voice suddenly cold. "These documents reference Texas Property Code 202.004 and multiple cases where HOAs were sued into oblivion for exactly this behavior. You've got selective enforcement, harassment, and possible embezzlement written all over them." The color drained from Vanessa's face so fast her foundation looked like cheap paint peeling. For the first time in 2 years, she was speechless. The kids in the pool started whispering. One dad actually clapped slowly from his lawn chair. But I wasn't done. Not even close. "Oh, and deputy, while you're here, you might want to check the HOA meeting minutes from March." Vanessa pushed through a motion giving herself sole signing authority on the community account. Funny how the landscaping budget tripled right after that. Vanessa's voice finally cracked. "This is character assassination. I have dedicated my life to this community." "Yeah," I replied, voice low and steady. "Then explain why Mrs. Patel's gnome collection was removed at 2 a.m. by your daughters wearing ski masks. Or why Mr. Henderson's flag was taken down because you personally decided full staff was aggressive. People aren't property, Vanessa, and neither is their happiness." The second cruiser arrived, this time the sheriff himself. He took one look at my binder, one look at Vanessa's trembling hands, and shook his head like he'd seen this movie before. "Ms. Sinclair, I'm going to need you to come down to the station. We've received multiple complaints today, and it looks like we're just getting started." The party didn't end. If anything, it got louder. Neighbors who'd ghosted me for 2 years started trickling in through the side gate carrying six-packs and awkward apologies. Carol from 1418 hugged my daughter so hard she almost knocked her into the pool. Someone turned the music up. The kids cannonballed again like nothing had happened. Vanessa didn't go quietly, of course. The next 3 weeks were a glorious circus of denial. She called emergency HOA meetings that nobody attended. She posted passive-aggressive letters in the community Facebook group about certain individuals undermining our shared values. She even tried suing me for defamation, until her own lawyer read my binder and suddenly discovered he had a scheduling conflict. The county prosecutor smelled blood. Turns out Vanessa had been skimming HOA dues for years to fund her research trips to Cabo. The newspaper ran a front-page story titled, "HOA President Faces Charges After Backyard Birthday Bust." The comments were brutal and beautiful. Finally, this is why I left the suburbs. Karen got Karened. The board vote to remove her was unanimous. They didn't even wait for the criminal case. One Tuesday evening, the same golf cart that once patrolled like a police state rolled up to her McMansion with a single cardboard box. Vanessa walked out in sunglasses and a scarf like she was fleeing the paparazzi, but everyone saw the tears. The Queen of Whispering Pines was dethroned by her own rulebook. The neighborhood changed overnight. People started talking again. Real conversations, not just weather and lawn tips. We rewrote the covenants. No more retroactive rules, no more clipboard Gestapo, and definitely no more fines for excessive visible joy. Mr. Henderson flew his flag at full staff every single day just because he could. Mrs. Patel bought 20 new gnomes and arranged them in a giant middle finger shape facing Vanessa's old house. My kids still talk about that pool party like it was the best day of their lives. Not because of the cake or the presents, but because they finally saw their dad stand up straight. Because for the first time since the divorce, our house felt like home instead of a battlefield. I still keep that black binder on the shelf in my office. Sometimes when the new HOA president, a chill retired teacher who actually likes people, sends out a friendly newsletter, I open the binder and flip through the old notices just to remember. And every single time I smile the same dark, satisfied smile. Because in the end, the real violation wasn't my pool party. It was letting someone like Vanessa Sinclair believe she could own other people's joy. So tell me, was I wrong for fighting back, or was the real crime letting her get away with it for so long? Drop your own HOA horror stories below. I read every single one. And remember, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Sometimes it's just been measured by a tyrant with a ruler and a god complex. See you in the next one.